Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're basically playing historical detectives to unpack an ancient text that has absolutely baffled scholars for centuries. Now, when you hear the word prophecy, you probably think of, a cryptic fortune cookie or some vague poem where you can twist the words to mean just about anything after the fact. But the text we're looking at today is completely different. It functions less like a mystical riddle and much, much more like a precise mathematical countdown.
Think about this for a second. What if I told you that over 500 years before Jesus Christ was even born, a mathematical code was written down that predicted the exact window he would arrive in Jerusalem? Well, today we are going to do the actual math behind the famous 70 weeks prophecy found in the book of Daniel. We're going step by step to see exactly how an ancient text hit a staggering historical bullseye.
Section 1. The Ancient Countdown. To really grasp how this code works, we have to travel all the way back in time to 539 BC. Picture this. Jerusalem is in absolute ruins, and the Jewish people are living as captives in Babylon. It's right here that a captive named Daniel receives an explosive revelation from the angel Gabriel. Gabriel tells him, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Now, in English, that sounds like a tiny window, right? Like barely a year and a half. But to decode this, we actually have to drop our modern assumptions.
The secret here completely lies in the original language. The Hebrew word translated as weeks is shavuim, and it literally just means sevens. So just like we use the word decade to mean a block of 10 years, an ancient reader would instantly recognize that 70 weeks actually meant 70 cycles of 7 years.
So let's do the math real quick together. 70 cycles multiplied by 7 years equals exactly 490 years. Through this vision, Gabriel was essentially handing Daniel a massive 490-year roadmap for the future of Jewish history and the arrival of their ultimate deliverer. But as with any stopwatch, a countdown is literally useless if you don't know when to hit start. Section 2. The Starting Gun. To give us our exact starting point, Gabriel breaks the timeline down into specific, smaller pieces. He declares that from the moment a command is given to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, there will be 7 weeks and then 62 weeks, until the Messiah. 7 plus 62 gives us 69 sevens. Multiply 69 by 7, and we're looking for a timeline of exactly 483 years, just waiting for a very specific historical trigger. So, let's play detective. When exactly was that decree? While there were a few Persian decrees that allowed for the rebuilding of the temple, only one gave the explicit political authority to rebuild the city walls and the gates of Jerusalem. Ancient Persian records pinpoint this specific decree to the 20th year of King Artaxerxes. That gives us our exact starting gun, March 14, 445 BC. Section 3. Doing the prophetic math. Now, here is where the detective work gets incredibly fascinating, because ancient timekeeping doesn't care at all about our modern calendars. See, we operate on a modern solar calendar of roughly 365.24 days. Shout out to leap years for keeping us on track. But ancient biblical and Babylonian texts used a strict prophetic calendar of exactly 360 days, divided evenly into 12 30-day months. So if we want to see how long this countdown actually is, we have to convert those 483 prophetic years into days. We simply take those 483 years and we multiply them by the ancient standard of 360 days per year. It's a super simple calculation, but it reveals the true length of the ancient stopwatch. When you crunch those numbers, you get a massive figure, precisely 173,880 days. According to Daniel's text, from the day the Persian decree is signed, the clock ticks down exactly 173,880 days until Messiah the Prince is revealed. Okay, so to map this onto our historical timeline, we have to translate that massive number of days back into our modern solar years. We take those 173,880 days and divide them by our hyper-precise solar year of 365.24219 days. The result? It leaves us with exactly 476 years and 24 days on our modern calendar.
Section 4. The historical bullseye.
All right, it is time to run the timeline. We start at our starting gun, March 14, 445 BC. First, we add the 476 years. Now, quick side note, here is a vital rule of historical math you've got to remember. There is no year 0 when crossing from BC to AD. It jumps straight from 1 BC to AD 1. Factoring that leap in brings us to the year AD 32. Finally, we add a remaining 24 days to March 14th. The stopwatch stops on a hyper-specific date, April 6, AD 32. So why does this exact date matter? Well, because April 6, AD 32 is the exact day chronologists place the event known as Palm Sunday. For years, Jesus had kept his miracles super quiet, telling his followers over and over that his time had not yet come. But on this specific day, that completely changed. He rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, fulfilling older prophecies, and deliberately presented himself openly to the nation as their king. The 500-year countdown hit 0 on the exact day he finally went public.
Section 5. The devastating aftermath.
I mean, that mathematical alignment alone is staggering. But Daniel's text included a deeply dark epilogue. Daniel 9:26 stated that after the countdown hit 0, 2 devastating things would happen. First, the Messiah would be cut off, which is actually an ancient Hebrew idiom for violent execution, dying not for himself, but for others. Second, an invading army would come in and completely destroy the city of Jerusalem and burn its sacred sanctuary, the temple. And history records this aftermath flawlessly. Exactly 1 week after his grand public entry, Jesus was executed. He was cut off by crucifixion. And just a few decades later, in AD 70, the Roman legions marched in and literally burned the temple to the ground. Now, for centuries, skeptics assumed this prophecy simply had to be written after the fact as a historical forgery. But the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls completely shattered that argument, providing hard archaeological proof that copies of Daniel existed long before the Romans ever touched the temple or Jesus was born.
And that brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? We have an ancient text that correctly identified the timeline of a rebuilding decree, calculated the exact presentation of a historical figure, and accurately predicted his execution and the complete destruction of a major capital city by Rome. Whether you view this as undeniable proof of divine revelation or simply the most unbelievable mathematical anomaly in the history of literature, it leaves us with an inescapable sense of wonder. So, what do you think? Divine inspiration or literally the craziest historical coincidence ever recorded? Let that thought linger, and we'll see you in the next explainer.